Hello, everyone, and welcome to Evolve Women's Wellness. I guess we'll call it a podcast or interview with our staff. Today, we've gotten together with the ladies, some of our practitioners, and we just want to take a few minutes to introduce you to them. And we're going to talk about some topics as a group, ongoing over the next few weeks. We have some time to get together to let you know about what we do at Evolve Women's Wellness and some of the hard topics that we really want to discuss with everybody. And so today we'll discuss some topics. So I'll start and introduce myself. I'm Lisa Cove. I am the owner of Evolve Women's Wellness. I also have been doing some training and really honing in on some women's health topics. So my passion is women's health, and I opened the company as New Mama Postpartum Health in October, and some of the people on the call today have been with us since 2019, and some are new. Renee is new with us, so as we evolved into Evolve. So I'm Lisa Cove. I am a sleep consultant for adults, and I also teach pelvic floor fitness and training for your pelvic floor at Evolve starting in April. So that's me. Christine, would you like to introduce yourself?
For sure. Hi, I'm Christine Rosa. I am a full spectrum doula. I support birthing parents. I also support them prenatally with how to get ready for baby, how to make your home safe for baby, what you need to do to prepare for baby. And then I support both parents at birth and also into the postpartum period. I can come into the home and do whatever they need done to support mom and family and mom and baby, and just to make that transition as smooth as possible for as long as possible. I mean, there's no time frame. Once you're postpartum, you're always postpartum. I also do abortion doula counseling, and I also do bereavement counseling for parents who need it at no charge. So it's my give back to the community. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Renee.
Well, hello, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing fine in this time of isolation. And for some of us, it's very difficult because it's really difficult to talk to the plants and the fridge and the microwave and
Yeah.
Social distancing. At any rate, Renee, I'm a mental health counselor, and I want to emphasize mental health counseling, especially in these times, more so than any other designation, such as registered therapist, because it really takes away from what my interests are. And it's the idea of having a sound mind and a healthy body. And in these times when our bodies can be just thrown into stress from all kinds of unknown sources, it's very important to keep ourselves focused on our mental state of being. And the mind is the important part, because it is the brain that controls the body. And so a healthy mind and a healthy outlook can help us get through many, many things. And so that's my focus through this time and my support that I can give.
Perfect, thank you. So we lost Tasha for a minute, but hopefully she can come back. But I'll start with our topic for the day, because I think it's important coincidentally. So Evolve Women's Wellness is a health and wellness designation. However, we really want to stress that the reason we're here is to help women through different stages of their life. And we opened as a postpartum health clinic, but soon realized that it was really important that we, that we help other women in other areas, because there's so much to do. And basically, the point of these videos is to let people know the areas of expertise that we have and have a conversation about the really hard topics that nobody else is talking about. So today, I really want to talk about the feeling of isolation. And the reason that is coming up, obviously, is because we're going through a game changer of environment right now. But not only that, it's that as I was telling the ladies before we started this podcast, was that I went through this feeling for a year or more when I was on maternity leave. So this is not new for me, and this is actually more situation normal for me as a mom, a new mom, than it was working a few weeks ago when I was out of the house all the time. So to me, being at home, and I think, okay, I will get some stuff done around here because now my husband's stuck here too, kind of thing. But for me, the feeling of isolation really started when I had my baby in December, and I was at home, and no one understood. And I really felt, well, you're never going to get it because you're not here with the baby. Like, we don't go for walks in March. It was cold, it was snowy. And the feeling of isolation was there. And I think that a lot of moms right now are saying, now you know how I kind of feel. Not that it's a stick it to anybody, but it's kind of starting to understand mom maybe goes through. And then also, when I was going through this at the same time, my husband's grandmother was going through a process of being kind of stuck at home. She lost her license, didn't have a vehicle anymore, and her level of isolation really increased at the exact same time that mine did. So this feeling, so the older population and the moms, the question is, I'm putting out to you guys is, what should we do? How do we feel? How should we really deal with the feelings of isolation? I know there's Zoom calls and whatever else, but what advice would you give to somebody? You want to go ahead?
I would say try to set up a routine, like try to get up every day at the same time, have your breakfast, have playtime with your little one, or, if you are in that category where you're living alone and you're feeling isolated and you don't even have a small child at home, or you're an elderly woman, call your friends, reach out, have those morning check-in phone calls, just check in just to make sure everybody is okay, and continue with your day. Like, go for a walk if you can, get outside in the fresh air, breathe that, breathe in that Mother Nature, and keep your life as routine as you can, because as humans we thrive on routine. As much as we want to have that vacation and we want to have that downtime, we also thrive when we have structured time.
Right. And that's something that I always did when I was from day one when I had the baby, was get up, shower every single day, and put your best face on, even if you don't feel like it, because it's going to wake you up. It's going to make you feel a little bit better. Don't fall into the slump of the Netflix for 12 hours every single day, and then put your nighttime pajamas on at 9 and keep your daytime pajamas on all day. Like, I never did that. Yeah, I wore a lot of yoga pants, but that's besides the point. So
comfort. There's nothing wrong with comfort.
Nothing wrong with comfort. That's right. Why should you be in the worst clothes, during this time? But I mean, you still want to get up and do your hair and make yourself feel whatever it is that makes you feel good, whatever your routine is.
Exactly. Find what feels good, definitely, and do that.
Yep, for sure. Renee, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I agree with Christine that as when the song says, you could be lonely but not alone. So in the sense of feeling isolated, it is to some extent or the feeling we have. So even, when this isn't happening, as when you said you had the baby and you were home, the feeling is what overwhelmed you, and what really overwhelms anyone when they're disconnected in terms of being in a building like me at home now, where you're compartmentalized.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of structure works for me, is especially in the sense that I give myself a chance to feel less disconnected based on what I do, just like Christine said. For example, for me, I've lived alone a lot these days because I'm been married, divorced, and my kids are grown, and so that is my life. But I remember feeling this isolation way back, as you said, when you just had the baby, and I just started my self-talk, which said, oh, but you're in a big building, which I am. I'm in like a threeplex, and there are people right on the other side of the walls. You just have to come out and say, hey. So if you tell yourself those types of things, then it eliminates some of the feelings. And of course, the structure is helpful. And of course, when you get overwhelmed and you want to be connected with other human bodies, like yesterday, you know, I walked out, I went to the grocery store, I had a little chat with a pharmacist. And then at social distancing, I spoke to someone I know from church. And everybody was so happy to see me because, you know, people are everybody's getting worried about, you know, all that's going on. And even in cars, I've been like seeing people waving and all that. So it's the feeling is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. And it can get away from you. And we were just talking before, again, the podcast about this feeling of I have a headache, and it's resonating with everybody on the call. I have a headache. Yeah. The thing is about the physiology of all of this is that you feel that you have headaches. So I was feeling a headache. We were talking before all that. The stress unknown, never before in human history could we probably identify this long-term unknown, not in modern history anyway, of when will this end? And because we've never been so global in our entire existence, right? So, and then on my side of it, I own a business. I'm trying to put that business online now because I want you guys to be able to still help your clients, and we have to figure out a way of reaching everybody online, right? So us and everybody else. So it's very, it's challenging, but to say the very least.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would suggest?
You know what, reading a good book, or even starting, you know, getting a hold of your friends and starting like maybe a book club. Okay, we have this book, let's read it. Who hasn't read this book? Even if you've read it before, let's read it again. Then we can get together and even just chat about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, over Zoom or over FaceTime, whatever it's going, you know, even if it's just one friend.
Yes, that's the thing. I think that if we're being realistic about this, and that's kind of why I wanted to chat with you ladies, was that we can talk about self-care and we can talk about, well, you should do this or take the opportunity to do all of these things. But at the end of the day, every single day, we're probably not going to have somebody to chat with. We're not, the real thing going on here is that you're still going to feel bored. You're still going to feel isolated, even if you have a plan.
Absolutely.
And you have to acknowledge,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
And making that be okay. That's okay for right now. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be forever, and it's just taking it day by day.
Right. Yeah. And it's difficult to say, okay, well, this is the chance for self-care. This is the chance for, and then, but you're taking it day by day and you never make progression steps towards that self-care. If you don't do something now, you say, well, you know, we'll be back to normal next week. So is really now the time, but it probably is now the time to clean the garage out. Well, I get started. Oh, what if I don't finish it? You know, like people are constantly procrastinating anyway, on projects that are important. So what makes them
good at that?
Yes, and what makes somebody, you know, dive into that self-care project right now? Like, what would drive you to start something other than the feelings? Is there something that would help you get in gear to actually start that self-care routine right now?
You know what? Yeah, it's just knowing that if I don't do it, I'm going to fall into that trap where I don't feel any motivation at all.
Yeah,
and then I feel like I accomplished anything through the day. So I try to set 3 things. Okay, I've had a shower, I've done my makeup, you know, maybe I've read a book or I've gone for a walk, or I try to keep my expectations very low.
Right.
And if I do those 3 things, I'm like, yes, I had a successful day. You know what I mean?
And for me, it's just setting that expectation low. My issue is that I always have to be working. I always feel like I have to be working, or whether, like when I was on mat leave, I felt the same way. I ended up building a business through that because I felt like I continuously just needed to be at work. For some people, it drives them nuts to be home on mat leave because the days are long and the social interaction isn't there. So yeah, setting your expectations, take a step backwards and realize that this stuff, you know, it doesn't need to get done right away. The whole world is on hiatus. It's not just you. So
exactly.
Chill.
Mother Nature has put us on a timeout.
I think I'm just talking to myself more than anything, but just understanding that we need to just chill out is probably just, enjoy your time with your family if you're home with your family.
Absolutely.
We have to remember though that there are people who are in isolation on their own.
Yes.
There are moms at home listening to this that don't have a partner coming home to them after work tonight, and so that isolation extends far greater than even what I experienced, because my isolation feelings kind of end at 4 o'clock or whatever, whenever my husband comes home from work, or the weekend. I can look forward to that. So what do we say to the women or men who are, alone in this?
So I've always lived in the light of promises. And so the thought of this too shall pass really, really keeps me motivated. The closest that I've done with this situation was when I taught in Toronto, when we're locked in for many hours in a classroom with 20 kids, because that's a lockdown. This is not even like an isolation. And so getting them through each day, each hour, and then in my head knowing that this is still temporary, we will get out. We're not in jail.
Yeah.
The door locked. It's just like here in my place. This is my home. I got food in the fridge, and I can talk to you guys on Evolve, and I can do so much. And when I'm ready, I can still go out and get in my car and drive as far as I want to go. It's just a shift. We're really only just going through a shift right now of how we do things. And so the point of view and shifting the dialogue in our head about what really is going on. I mean, the most important thing is not to get sick. So it's like staying alive. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
Those kind of right?
If you remember that, you'll remember to stay home.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dorothy says there's no place like home.
That's right.
No place like home. Yeah.
So Renee, what do you say to people managing the anxiety when they do go out? So you go to the grocery store, it feels like apocalypse now. It feels like something's coming down the pipeline. We don't know what to expect, because you can kind of distance yourself from TV, like we were saying before the call as well. You see the shelves are empty on TV, but that's not my neighborhood. And then you go to your neighborhood and the shelves are empty. What do you say?
And I think it becomes a vicious cycle of anxiety, right? One thing begets the other, and the other thing influences the other. What I find interesting too about this empty shelf situation is that I just counseled a lady last week. I'm still counseling her, but she's on the other end of the receiving line, where she's a store owner. She has an integral part in distributing the products. And so she is on the other end of anxiety because they have to be trying to keep up.
Right.
So what that tells me is simply that it's just a feeling, because if she's anxious and very anxious to keep up, and she's running out of her mind about how can we restock with getting toilet paper, la, 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 then it also tells me that the people should really know that enough already. Relax. It's not running out. I mean, they did play to our tune before when they allowed those people, and there's always people, a certain type of mindset from the population who will always want to hoard. It's a real mental condition, and it's built on fear, and it's also
and scarcity.
Yeah, and this whole catastrophic thinking, because cognitive therapy, we talk about people who catastrophically think like Chicken Little, the world's going to end. Right? And so when you think in those terms without evidence, and that is negative thinking, then you could constantly go along that what if, right? But then you have to pull yourself back and say, hey, stop, enough already. Like, I mean, it goes into a domain of add, subtract, plus, minus. So when I'm thinking about that lady who is part of a big major store chain, and knowing what she knows about this level of reality, then you see that it's your thoughts that are really running amok. Because there are people who are working, like my girlfriend, she was the only one on the TDC last night when she called, but the factory she's working at didn't close. They
Right.
can't close. Another practical evidence of what's going on is that my son, he works for 3M. They can't close. They make the surgical thing.
Right.
It's a perspective. So you could shift. When you shift, you realize that I'm part of a certain number of people, but it's not all that. And it's just what I do for a living that really impacts me. But my son is working overtime,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my daughter's husband, they manage Costco for all their wiring. I had to go babysit my granddaughter to help them out because my daughter had to go to work and he had to go to work. So it's a shift. It's just
Right.
when you shift your thinking and understand the fuller picture, then you see that I'm only thinking from a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
All talking from the point of view of the people.
Your own point of view, right?
Right. Right.
That makes sense, Christine? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, so if we think about the people who, if we're in fear at home, think we're at fear. If you think about the people who are in fear, who are going to work every day, that are getting on public transit if they need to.
Exactly.
You know, they're going into the factories that haven't shut down. Some factories have retooled. I also see a shift in the workforce because, you know, 100,000 people need to go work for Amazon now or Walmart, or they now we've just moved our workforce to a different location. I'm not sure what's happening.
So the other part about this thinking too that I got some insight on is this. I mean, the idea of social distancing was implemented because the more people you have in an environment where they're all meeting together, and just the idea of how it's transmitted. So if you're a carrier, you may not show any symptoms because my relative, she used a term, she's a medical doctor in Atlanta, but it's just where your body's in a situation where you could pass it on, but you don't even know. So then I would hope that the people who are on these buses, or like the bus driver in Toronto, because especially the highly populated areas,
Mm-hmm.
you would have enough sense to have them test to make sure that they won't transmit this to people who get on the bus. So once they know that, then it's okay for you to get on the bus. What wouldn't be okay is if you get on the bus and you have to stand or sit close to someone. So the fewer people on the subway, if say each seat occupied one person, then I would see that someone's not going to breathe on you, because the truth is really the breathing in an environment where it goes into the air. So this distancing, you know, reduces that because of the cities and how crowded they are. So I'm just saying, hopefully they implement some measures that if a medical person is sick, or a person who's in an essential services, people in essential services are in the factory, like where my son worked, anyone sick. So once they get tested and they know they're not transmitting, and everyone's into that environment, then it should be okay. But I know it's not perfect, but at the same time, it reduces the probability of transmission, right? That's why the distancing works.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. I think that we've got some good advice here for everybody, and
Definitely.
yeah. So if there's anything else you want to add to our listeners today before we sign off, before I stop recording, you can throw it in here. You know, we just want to let people know that this is the first discussion of many, and today we only talked about the topic of isolation and what we can maybe do about it, but we have lots of other topics coming down the pipeline. So
the one more thing I've told the customers, like you were saying, hitting the nail about the people, say for example, the greeters at Walmart, or I had a part-time job at Costco before, very recently. I had given it up a long time now, but if you were one of those people, right, and you had to go to work, you really have to make sure that your immune system is in full blast, because the immune system is what really fights viruses. It's not the isolation. The isolation only helps you to not be in contact, right? But your immune system has to be the guards that fight this. So do everything to keep your immune system up. And I really have an issue with social isolation or even complete isolation, because when you're indoors, I think it diminishes your immunity. You need some fresh air to get.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
You have to balance this. That's
Yes. Yes. Get out into the sunshine, breathe in that air, walk in the grass.
Yeah, use this time to eat well, to eat nourishing food.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Mish couldn't be on the call today, our nutritionist, but hopefully she can catch the next one and maybe give us some tips on the best way. We know what we need to be doing, and that's to be nourishing our bodies and our spirit during this time, because it is, so whatever that is for you, that's what you need to be doing. So for you, it's yoga for some people, and it's definitely not yoga for some people. So whatever it is, you need to find it, because this is kind of a hunker down sort of situation, I'd say. And it's time to start really thinking, okay, what makes me feel good? What's going to get my mind off of it and onto something else? And that maybe sitting around watching 12 hours of Netflix, if that makes you feel good, cool. But don't forget to eat well, sleep well, and go outside, get some fresh air.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Find what feels good and just stay safe. Stay as safe as you can. And check in on your neighbor. Check in on people. Make sure they're okay too.
My neighbor is in the backyard digging holes with his tractors, and he's 90 years old. So I don't know what he's doing.
There you go. Well, you know he's doing well. He's having fun out there. Boys love digging in the dirt.
He is the social isolation king. So he knows what he's doing. He's got his dog and he's got his tractor and he's digging holes.
That's all he needs. He's got this covered.
Yeah, I don't know what, I'm not even going to go near him and ask him. Just leave him alone, let him be. I'll talk to him in the spring.
There you go. Yeah, just, smile and wave.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what we do. But yes, check in with the people that you care about and, take care of yourself.
Definitely.
This too shall pass.
That's right. This too shall pass. So that's the theme of our call today. So with that, we'll wave. We won't hang up, but we'll wave, and then I'll.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye, Christine. Bye.